In 1968, young Iris and her fiancé Paul attended the grand opening of the Skyview restaurant. During the event, Paul proposed, slipping an engagement ring onto Iris's finger. At that very moment, Iris witnessed something horrifying. A boy above them tossed a coin downward. It was as if death itself had breathed on the coin, guiding it straight into a ventilation shaft. The coin jammed a fan, stopping it instantly. Inside the tower, guests danced joyfully, unaware that cracks were rapidly spreading beneath their feet. As Iris and Paul moved into position, the metal supports below began to give way. Bolts snapped loose one by one. Suddenly, the trapped coin shattered a fan blade, sending it hurtling into a gas pipe. While the dancers continued, the cracks widened, and gas started leaking into the air. A deep unease filled Iris. Without warning, Paul fell through the floor. People began plunging after him, frantically grasping at metal beams. On the ground below, staff members panicked and fled. Paul managed to cling to a pane of reinforced glass. Iris screamed for help, but no one came. She reached out desperately for Paul, but he slipped from her grasp and fell. Chaos erupted as terrified people tried to escape. A woman engulfed in flames ran into the leaking gas, triggering a massive explosion. Those who couldn't flee in time perished. Iris narrowly escaped the inferno. Staff shouted for everyone left to evacuate immediately. The boy who had tossed the coin ran ahead, leading the way. The frightened crowd rushed toward the emergency exit, but death had planned for this too. The walkway gave way, killing everyone who stepped onto it. Miraculously, the boy survived unscathed. The remaining survivors scrambled for the elevator, shoving each other in panic. An elderly man pushed Iris aside but got stuck halfway through the overcrowded elevator doors. The overloaded elevator malfunctioned, crushing him gruesomely. Iris searched for another way out, but the stress began to affect her pregnancy. Objects started sliding sideways and the ceiling began to crack ominously. Realizing disaster was imminent, she climbed upward. Others weren't as lucky. The floor split open, forming a steep slope. People slid uncontrollably, crashing onto the reinforced glass below. One woman thought she was safe until a piano teetered above her. Once again, everyone nearby was killed. The boy smiled smugly, thinking he had escaped, until the piano landed on him too. Iris grieved deeply for Paul. Then she noticed another boy in danger and risked everything to save him. At that moment, the structure above collapsed entirely. In the final second, Iris grabbed a piece of metal, but it wasn't her hand that saved her. It was Paul's engagement ring hooked on a steel rod. The fragile grip didn't hold, and she fell into the flames below. Stephanie woke from the nightmare in class. But it wasn't just a dream. She'd been having this same one for 2 months. She told her roommate about it. In the dream, there was a woman named Iris, her grandmother's name. Yet Stephanie had never met Iris and didn't even know if she was still alive. Her roommate advised her to go home and find out, hoping the nightmares would stop. When Stephanie returned home, she asked her father, Marty, about Iris. Marty frowned, then smiled awkwardly, clearly hiding something. Just then, Stephanie's younger brother, Charlie, announced he was visiting their cousins. Stephanie decided to join him. Before they left, Marty warned them not to mention Iris to their relatives. That only deepened Stephanie's suspicions. What had really happened to Iris? If the woman in her dream was truly her grandmother and something terrible had occurred, then how had her mother come into the picture? When Stephanie and Charlie reached their cousin's home, she went straight to her Uncle Howard to ask about her mother, Darlene. Howard was stunned and quickly changed the topic. But when Stephanie mentioned the Skyview restaurant, the place from her dreams, Howard and his wife Brenda froze in shock. Stephanie pressed them for answers. Her cousins gathered around, eager to listen. Finally, they revealed that Iris wasn't dead. She had suffered a mental breakdown. To Howard and Brenda, though, she was as good as gone. Stephanie insisted on speaking to Iris herself, believing it might end the nightmares. Frustrated, Howard explained that after their father's death, Iris lost control. She stopped her children from going to school, locked them inside, and lived in constant fear that they would die. Eventually, the police intervened and took her away. Later, Iris obsessively monitored their foster care records. Once Howard and Brenda had children, Eric, Julia, and Bobby, Iris began sending disturbing letters filled with gruesome photos and dire warnings. Terrified, they moved away and cut off all contact. Stephanie asked to see the letters, but Howard and Brenda refused. After much pleading, Brenda secretly told her where they were hidden. Stephanie found them, and what she saw left her speechless. The woman in the photos looked exactly like the one in her dreams. This meant the visions might be real. Determined to find the truth, Stephanie drove off alone to search for Iris. Following the address, she reached a remote mountain cabin. Through an intercom, Iris told her to leave immediately. But once Stephanie revealed she was her granddaughter, Iris reluctantly agreed to let her in, after insisting she empty her pockets. When the heavy door opened, Stephanie stepped inside cautiously. The house was filled with strange contraptions, even spikes along the roof. Iris explained that they were all defenses against unseen forces. Nervously, she told Stephanie to close the door quickly. Just then, a fire extinguisher fell outside. She warned Stephanie not to touch anything. Everything could be a deadly trap. When they finally met face to face, Iris smiled warmly. She asked about Stephanie's mother, Darlene. Stephanie explained they'd been separated since she was 10, and she didn't know how her mother was doing. Then she brought up her nightmares. Iris said they weren't mere dreams. She had once seen the future. She had foreseen a great disaster. Years ago, she had been with Paul on the rooftop when a woman's hat blew off. A boy tried to toss a coin, though security stopped him. Still, he insisted. Just as Paul was about to propose, Iris warned him that the building was going to collapse and everyone would die. Paul was confused, but Iris grabbed the coin from the boy. That coin was the key that would trigger the butterfly effect. She rushed downstairs, grabbed a burning pot, and interrupted the dancers. Taking the microphone, she shouted for everyone to look at the floor. Some tried to stop her, but others saw the cracks. That night, she saved countless lives. The building never collapsed. Later, the restaurant shut down. Iris had thwarted Death's design, but Death didn't take kindly to being cheated. Years later, it returned, killing everyone from that night, including Paul. Iris learned to sense Death's approach. She spent her life preventing tragedies. But now, Death had finally caught up. She had cancer. While talking with Stephanie, Iris let her guard slip. Death silently crept in. A magnifying glass reflected sunlight onto a metal tray, which redirected the beam to a rope. Iris believed Stephanie's dreams were a sign that she might have inherited the gift. Suddenly, sensing danger, Iris turned and spotted Death's trap. She knocked the magnifying glass away just in time. Death assumed Iris would be distracted by her granddaughter. Iris told Stephanie to stay and learn, as it was too dangerous outside. She herself hadn't stepped out in 20 years. But Stephanie refused. She had to return to school. Iris warned that Death was coming for their family, but Stephanie dismissed it as fantasy. As Stephanie neared the door, Iris suddenly had a vision. Wind, a compass, the trigger signs. She knew stepping outside meant death. Yet, to protect her granddaughter, she took the risk. She stepped out, handed the book to Stephanie, and told her to keep it safe. When Stephanie didn't believe, Iris decided to prove it. A gust of wind blew in, knocking over the compass. It struck a fire extinguisher, which shot forward and impaled Iris through the mouth. Now, Stephanie believed. Iris was gone. The family gathered for her funeral. Stephanie warned her father and uncle that Iris had said Death was coming, but they didn't believe her. Then, her estranged mother, still hurt by their past, Stephanie walked away. Back home, she began reading Iris's book. Meanwhile, the family gathered at Howard's home for a barbecue, laughing and eating, unaware that Death had arrived. Bobby accidentally shattered a glass, not noticing a shard had fallen into the ice. Eric placed his drink near a gas tank, perfect tools for Death's plan. As they toasted to Iris's memory, Julia suddenly began choking. Everyone panicked, but she had simply swallowed wrong. Relieved, they laughed it off. Inside, Stephanie read about the coin and a barbecue grill. Outside, Eric lit the grill while Bobby invited Charlie to the trampoline, unaware of the hidden rake below. The book slipped from Stephanie's hands. She felt danger closing in. A photo frame fell and shattered, scattering glass shards. Whose drink held the deadly piece? Howard took a sip, unharmed. Then the camera focused on Darlene's glass, but nothing happened. Stephanie rushed toward the house, calling Charlie, who didn't answer. The trampoline was already fraying. On her way, she saw a danger ahead sign, as if Death itself was warning her. The shard ended up in Marty's glass, but he only sipped lightly and set it aside. Howard jumped on the trampoline just as Darlene noticed the hidden rake and removed it. Brenda accidentally knocked over a bottle, flipping a nearby switch. The pipes rattled. The rake slid toward a running lawnmower. When Stephanie arrived, death began its sequence. Bobby's leg got caught in the trampoline. Julia dropped her glass, and Howard stepped on a shard. The rake struck the mower, sending it forward. Howard fell, and the machine ended his life. The family gathered again for another funeral. Stephanie scoured Iris's notes and found a message. JB found someone who survived. She traced the death order, first Howard's family, then her own. Marty and Brenda were safe, not being blood relatives. That meant Eric was next. No one believed her. Eric went to work, where a fan caught his nose ring with a chain. Disinfectant spilled nearby. The fan pulled tighter as Eric struggled. A lamp fell, igniting the chemicals. Fire spread fast. He tore himself free but knocked over more disinfectant. Moments later, the place exploded. Stephanie and Charlie searched for him, nearly crashing on the way. Eric survived, though burned. But death wasn't done. Stephanie followed him, trying to stop new accidents. Yet Julia's fate came next. She was thrown into a garbage truck and crushed. The family finally believed. Then Brenda revealed Eric wasn't Howard's biological son. That explained his survival. The next target was Bobby. Following Iris's notes, they found William, the boy Iris once saved. He explained there were only two ways to beat death: take another's life or die and return. Eric decided Bobby should die and come back. He tried to trigger Bobby's peanut allergy, but the peanuts got stuck in the vending machine. They smashed it to free them, unknowingly setting off a chain reaction. Inside the MRI room, Eric's piercings were pulled in by the magnet. A flying wheelchair crushed him. A loose spring then shot across the room and pierced Bobby's skull. Terrified, Stephanie, Darlene, and Charlie fled to Iris's old cabin, unaware a coin had fallen from the notebook. An old woman picked it up. At the cabin, the car crashed. Darlene barely made it out before the structure exploded. Charlie rescued the unconscious Stephanie from the pond, reviving her. They thought they had beaten death by dying and returning. But Darlene was gone. Only Charlie and Stephanie remained. A week later, they visited Charlie's girlfriend. When Stephanie pricked her finger on a rose thorn, she remembered her nightmare, just like Iris's. An old woman dropped a coin near the train tracks. A train approached. The girlfriend's father, a doctor, explained Stephanie hadn't truly died. Her heart never stopped. That realization terrified her. A red car appeared, the same as in her dream. Charlie's girlfriend wore the same clothes Iris once had. The bad feeling grew stronger. The train derailed, crashing toward them. Stephanie fell. Charlie pulled her up. They thought they had escaped, but they hadn't.